So there's 4 people standing at the bar. Oh, I take that back. There's 5 people standing at the bar. Somebody just joined them. There's 2 Comcast TV talk show hosts. There's an empty hat. There's a conspiracy theorist. And there's a gynecologist. Oh. Welcome to Progressive Soup. My name is David Stevenson. Tonight I have a very special guest, someone who preceded me in this business, who has had a show for a number of years, John Gogliatino.
You got it.
And John has a show called Community Forum. He's been doing he'll tell us how long he's been doing it. And we're going to talk about some of the genres of shows that he's done and some of the special shows that stand out in his mind over the years. First of all,
16 years.
16 years. Oh, my God.
Years.
So you were doing it back when Walter Rosenchek was doing it, who preceded, actually was the godfather of our show.
Oh, okay.
His Earth Matters evolved into Progressive Soup.
Oh, okay. So that's where you guys evolved from.
That's where he willed us his show when he was not doing well physically, and he said, take the show, and very reluctantly we did. We ran with it, and almost 2 years later, here we are.
This is very weird, not sitting here asking the questions.
when I had Susan Shaner on, your helper, yeah. Susan Shaner on, my first thought was, hey, who's the host and who's the guest on this darn show?
Yeah, I'll try not to do that.
We couldn't. It took us a second to figure it out, but certainly, yeah.
Okay.
So we sort of threw the ball, the hot potato, back and forth through the half-hour show.
Right.
But at any rate, 16 years. First of all, take us back to the beginning. Where did Community Forum, where did the title of your show evolve from?
Actually, there was the first show I did was a political show because the Democrats got wiped out back then too when I was on the Democratic Town Committee, and in the fall of '94. So during the winter there was some discussion, and I said, I know they're doing public access TV shows down at Comcast because I've been watching, and I want to talk about that also, the fact that public access is a way to get the message out. The media is monopolized, and people say there's slants. Well, there actually are some slants, you know, various types, and sometimes it's a corporate slant. So this is the best way of getting what the content in the community is. This is what's going on in the community of Danbury at any one particular time.
Everybody complains about the media, the mass media, and it's part of the problem, of course, being that there are, I think, five owners of virtually all media in the United States now.
You're correct.
It's owned by just a very limited number of people, and I think you hit the nail on the head when you talked about corporate, because it's really not even so much liberal or conservative, but
the different corporations in control. Maybe one's a little more progressive than the next, but how much so? If it's GE interests, they're going to slant the news so the GE corporate parent is not hurt.
And even though it's MSNBC, which tends to be viewed as more liberal, more progressive, just the same, the parent company.
Right, the parent pulls it in. There's certain stories you're not.
Nobody stirs the pot and slaps GE.
Right.
On MSNBC.
Correct.
So it's those corporations that really have media and have the message that comes out on national television by the throat.
So the purpose, we had some discussion. So the first show was a political show that lasted for a year. Yeah. And then after that, I started Community Forum. I spun off. But the first year of shows were just political shows. They're showing the Democratic view versus the Republican Congress at the time, and we cut our teeth. We developed about 15 volunteers, and we had 2 new shows a month, and it's not easy, but it's relatively easy if you have the motivation of producing and saying, we want to talk about this, whatever it is, the local issues, the state issues, some of the national impacts and how they affect the local. They're going to cut this program. Well, how does it affect the city of Danbury? How does it affect the state, and how's the state going to affect the city of Danbury? Because everything is an effect. There's a cause and there's effect. If there's a cut at the Congress, it trickles down to you eventually with a whack. Usually behind the head where you don't like it, and then services are hurt.
It's all a disbursement of funds, and everybody wants to get theirs, and there are unfortunately some sacred cows within at least the federal budget, being the military, even though we really don't have much in the way of enemies anywhere more in the world, except for some guy hiding in a cave somewhere.
Right.
But other than that, there are no real tangible enemies.
So I thought about all of this in the sense, I said, you know, we're doing just political shows. I'd like to do some other shows that are not highlighted by the corporate giants either.
Yeah.
You know, why don't we just, and so that's where the community forum idea came, because in the Roman, the center of Rome, there was a forum.
Yes.
So that's where I got the name. I didn't steal it from the News Times. The News Times tried to say that I stole their name. I started it before the community forum started in the News Times.
It's such a generic name. I mean, you know, it's a great generic name, but it's still a generic name. I mean, I don't see how anybody could really, how the News Times could want to try to
monopolize the name that came from the Roman Forum. You know, where people would get up on a pedestal and start talking about, you know, I don't like the fact we got cows coming in on this side of town. The cows should stay on the other side of town, or whatever issue there was in ancient Rome. You know, and when people get on a pedal, there might be 4 to 8 speakers going on at the same time, depending on what Roman citizen wanted to listen to who going at the same time. So I thought, hey, let's have this type of because there were different shows going on at the time, but I wanted to have a little bit of everything. Have a little bit of politics, a little bit of you know, book reviews, which I did. I haven't done them lately, but I reviewed books.
And you've had some entertainment over the years too.
Some entertainment. I had medical issues. I remember once the lady slipped when she put in a pin in my forehead. That was fine, but when she got to my wrist, it went in and it actually hurt me. And I'm going like this. But I smiled the whole time until I got off camera. So the pins, what do they call it? The acupuncture. And they were demonstrating.
An acupuncturist who was giving you a demonstration.
Yeah, it didn't bother me up here, but when they got to the wrist, that actually hurt.
I had a very brief
it wasn't supposed to.
And it was kind of weird. I really wasn't too excited about pins actually being in my body. I never really liked needles. I have a very hard time giving blood. And anything involving needles, any kind of injections, it skeeves me out. So I can imagine having a pin stuck into you on camera.
I've talked about the attributes of vitamins. You know, so it wasn't political as much as people. Oh, John, he's political. Oh, yeah, maybe 25% of the time. 75% of the time was everything under the sun. I talked about vitamins. You know, you should be taking vitamin C. You know, some garlic if you can stand it. You should take fish oil pills. I've had that periodically on. Chiropractic. I've lost count. Maybe 10 or 12 chiropractors during that time I've had on as to why people should try it. It doesn't work for everybody, but 95% of people should have some kind of adjustment work on themselves.
And have you found probably from having people on that there's a whole spectrum of ways that it's administered. It's all according. It's not an exacting science.
Right.
That's what I found. Because we tried the same thing with massage therapy and acupuncture again. Demonstrations.
I've had massage therapists on, and we've actually given massage right on the stage. We've had doctors saying this is what we're talking about in my aspect. Trying to think what the doctor was talking about. Child psychology, and you should start earlier than we normally think because we get warped earlier. and we got to prevent getting warped, and if you don't start at age 5 or age 4, you can have some real damage by the time you're 10, and that's when parents are traditionally trying to correct. So I've had different people from different walks of life. One of my first shows was a veteran politician, which I won't say who,
You can say there's nobody watching. You can say.
No, well, there's a few people.
Can you give us some initials?
And it was like the interview went like this. So when did you start in politics? When I was 10. And who got you in? My father. And so I'm asking, and my questions are longer and longer, and her answers are shorter and shorter. So that was one of my least interviews. That's
the hardest part from when you talk about doing cable television.
Yeah.
When you're the host and you're asking questions and you're interviewing, the toughest thing, and I've had a few instances of that myself, you ask a question which opens up a great opportunity for a guest to give you a long, expounding answer and a lot of detail, and they'll say yes, or they'll say no. And you've got to go on to the next question, and it's hard to ask follow-up questions when there's nothing really given in an answer except a word or two words.
On the other hand, one person wouldn't mind, because I criticized him about it, and then he got better as time went by.
Oh, okay.
I would get Gene Eriquez on the show, and I'd get 2 questions and maybe the third with 10 minutes to go, and it was like you couldn't stop him. You just
so he would get warmed up. Yeah,
he'd get warmed up, and you'd try to get a little maybe you'd get a little corrective thing, and that you mean over on State Street? Oh, that's all you get.
Get a couple words in occasionally. Once he gets cranking up.
And I said, Gene, let me ask the questions. We'll cover what you want to get. You don't want to cover the whole thing, right? I'll ask you about the police department, the fire department.
Yeah.
But don't think that you need to go through all of it on the first question. So how's the city of Danbury?
Give the host a chance to get a word in edgewise.
Right. Because maybe there's something that you're not going to cover. So
when you say community forum, I'm thinking a little bit about Speaker's Corner in Hyde Park in London, and I was there when I was a kid. And that's the kind of thing that you probably see a little bit more of in a country like Great Britain than you do here in the United States, where you have measured reason dialogue and people either up on the soapbox or down in the audience, that even if they get this gnarly feeling that they don't like what they're hearing, they keep their lips zipped and they listen, and then they get an opportunity and they respond, and they get a little bit. I was there when I was 14, 15 years old and found it fascinating, and that's probably what actually got me interested first of all in politics, is having that opportunity to hear diversity of opinion and how people that maybe don't agree at all with each other, but they recognize that if the other guy is taking the time to think a thought through and come up with a reasoned thought about something, even if you don't agree with it, they've taken the time to think it through. Gosh darn, they deserve you to give them the respect to listen to what they have to say. And that's what we've tried to do on this show, and I know you do it on your show, and it's great. Good, honest, reasoned discussion. There are other shows on Comcast, and some of them are a little bit conspiracy theorist in nature, perhaps, let's say.
Right.
And kind of don't allow for a diversity of opinion. There's an opinion to be promoted, and not much in the way of response from a guest, because the guest and the host have already planned out exactly what they're going to talk about, and they just throw the hot potato back and forth and agree on everything they talk about because they already know what they believe in.
Right. Well, I've always tried to have a little bit of from every corner.
Mm-hmm.
I've had Democrats on, I've had Republicans on. Now, if they're John Bergers, I probably won't have them on. But if they're mainstream, mm-hmm. I bring both sides on the show. I've had one of the criticisms I had of the show is, mm-hmm. John, at times it gets so boring. So then I came up with the idea, and I think I was the first show to do it, of having guest hosts. And I've had them sometimes as many as 3 in a 13-week period.
Yeah.
In other words, I'll do, let's say, 6 shows or 7 shows, and then divvy up the other shows and have it almost like a 60-minute type of thing.
And I can tell you from my experience of having Susan on my show that you did a great job helping Susan evolve into a very fine host and a darn good guest too.
Yeah. Susan Shaner.
Yeah. She was on.
Yeah.
We did a couple shows and a lot of fun, a lot of good conversation.
I've had an average of 2 guest hosts on per year over, I'd say, the last 10 years. Yeah, because that was something I heard actually at the gym, at several places, where I've got clients. This is, you ought to have a little more diversification. You're doing too much talk, or they wanted to have some, maybe women's issues. Yeah. So that how do you get to women's issues if you're not a female? And
it's not easy.
It's a little tough. You got to read 5 books, or you bring in a guest host that understands it better.
And if you're a man who considers himself to be a feminist, as a natural extension of being a humanist, like I do, it's still a little tough. I had the president, the Connecticut chairperson for NARAL pro-choice here in Connecticut, and it's a little awkward when you have a guest on. I kind of muddled my way through it with the guests I've had on that I would consider to be feminists. But you kind of have to take a step back and let them be the authority on the subject, and kind of not really. A man can't look at the world the way a woman can look at the world and at
well, we could
issues.
try, but the best one to open that area up is somebody that's in that, let's say, in the leadership role.
Definitely.
I got into sports, so I got some leadership training from sports.
Yeah.
That's different than the leadership training that Susan's received. She got it from the world of business.
Yeah.
And so how am I going to explore an interview? I could do it, but not as well as she can with somebody on the same plane. They're on the same plane. I come from the sports background and from, being with guys. Yeah. Okay, I got some interaction with women, but you know what I'm saying. It's just a lot easier bringing somebody in to explore that, and so this is the reason. One of the things that makes the show as popular as it does, because I not only have different things on there, but I also have different point of views. I have the guest hosts.
And that's what makes the show good, in my opinion.
Yes.
Now, I have managed to get around a little bit of the problem with the, particularly on women's issues, by I've had 2 co-hosts over the 2 years that were women. The one that I have now, Jean Hislop, who's and her specialty is more in the area of immigration. She's very knowledgeable about immigration, and she'll take the reins on discussions about that. And there are things that I'm a little bit more knowledgeable about, and I'll tend to take the lead, and she'll follow through with the follow-up questions. And likewise, when Jean's conducting the interview, I'll come up with a follow-up question to throw in, so we keep the conversation amongst 3 or even sometimes 4 people.
But you do more political shows, a little more political shows than I do.
Sort of, yeah. I mean, we've definitely got a point of view, and it's definitely progressive, liberal, whichever word
your soup is of a different type than mine.
yeah. And it's funny because the soup bowls didn't start out. I mean, the guys came up with the name Progressive Soup because it made a lot of sense. We threw a lot of those kinds of titles around, and Progressive Soup was the one that stuck. The first time that I had Dan Malloy, Dan's been on twice in advance of him running for governor. As a gubernatorial candidate, he was on twice. Actually, a candidate for the party nomination for governor, he was on twice. And the first thing he said on the first show that he came here is, "Where's the soup? I expected soup." So needless to say, we had to tailor our show a little bit by the second time he came on.
See, you got him a Campbell soup or what?
Oh, no, we just had the empty soup bowls.
Oh, okay.
We could call them finger bowls too if we want, I guess. But so we had the soup bowls, and albeit they're empty, but at least the prop works. It works with the name of the show.
Well, I get bored. Yeah. So I have to have different things to just keep myself motivated. Yeah. For example, I had the Ghostbusters. I had the amateurs and the professionals.
Yes.
The Warrens. I can't remember. I know it wasn't Earl Warren because that's the Supreme Court justice. But,
and they live in Monroe.
But they're from Monroe, and they would go around, and if you had noise in the attic, maybe it was a ghost, maybe it was the devil. maybe it was you know, a cat that got up there or a squirrel.
So they do a little bit of paranormal investigation.
But they would come in and investigate, you know, with their equipment and what is actually going on in your house.
Yeah.
You know, since you don't know what's going on, and they were the professionals. And then I've had members of my own crew. I did this show. This is. Oh, we go down to the Easton Cemetery all the time. Is it Easton? Yeah, Easton Cemetery.
It is, because Kristen's taking me there.
Yeah, and they shot you know, pictures, which we put on the air, of these orbs over the graves. You know, they're floating around. There was no way they were attached to anything. They were moving. You know, we had some actual film we put on that these guys, you know, in their spare time, when they're not working and they're not down at the bar, you know, they're doing this, you know. And I'm not saying that they're drinking and going out and doing this. I'm saying on a spare night, then they're bored and they got nothing else to do. They take the camera out and do this, and then they would bring the. So we had a couple of shows on that, and that broke it up a little bit.
What kind of? That's very fascinating. But what kind of explanation could there be, or did they give, for that type of thing, that type of paranormal event?
Well, they showed the picture and they said, "This is here. See, there's nothing underneath." You know, they actually had some demonstrations that there's no way that it was suspended in any way, shape, or form. So what could it be except that, you know,
something
there's something paranormal going on.
Something we cannot explain. And I guess there are plenty of things in the world that none of us can explain, and we just have to think about. Try to learn about, and sometimes just accept.
Then I've had people on that, you know, book reviews. There was a fellow by the name of Howard. I'm not going to say who or where exactly, but he came from Russia, and in a 10-year period was very successful and developed a machine shop and wrote a book about it over a course of 20 years, how successful he had done coming from Russia, coming over here. It's a classical American story of rags to riches, except he came from Russia. He didn't, you know, start here, but he had the drive and became successful. And he wrote an interesting book about it, and we interviewed him, and there was a high number of comments from viewers as I would, you know, roam around. Of course, another one of my worst shows was the Internet Lady, as I call her. she did everything but follow instructions. I said, make sure when you come down the show, don't wear black or white. Yeah. You know, and dress appropriately. So she comes in not dressed appropriately, a very short skirt, and it wasn't appropriate. And Anthony, my camera person, was sweating up a storm. I was sweating because I didn't know how she was going to move in the chair. And for weeks and weeks after that.
Oh, that's Tony DiCaprio.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. He must have been having a joyous time.
Well, he was sweating up a storm, you know, and I didn't really want to say, but yeah. But I was sweating too, and for weeks after that, people were saying, "You had that gal on. What was she talking about?" So her trying to talk about the internet that didn't, you know, she actually had a presentation, but it was very.
Nobody knows exactly what it was, though.
Very, very poor, to say the least. So those are the politician that had the very abbreviated interview, and they were the worst interviews. The funniest interview was a real estate guy, and they came on simultaneously. I had a real estate guy and a mortgage guy at the same time, and I sat over there, and I swear to God, it was almost like the Jerry Springer show, because one guy was saying the interest rates went up. They did not. They went up. They did not, and they were almost coming to blows with each other, sitting side by side over here. I said, but they came together. They're arguing. I think they forgot. They were so relaxed they forgot where they were on air. And everybody that saw that, I heard for weeks after that show, that was funny. I said, but it was real. They were actually going at it.
And you're right, and sometimes you'll have guests on, and sometimes it'll just be a matter of them just not jibing as people. Sometimes they're just oil and vinegar personalities, and sometimes somebody will say something that gets, like I had someone from the Democratic Party on, and a couple of Green Party members, and the Working Families Party came up.
Yeah.
And the Green Party member, one of them said something about the Working Families Party being the lapdog of the Democratic Party because they cross endorse.
Yeah.
They can't run candidates. They don't have enough clout to run their own candidates normally, although they do have some elected officials in Hartford. They're the second party in Hartford behind the Democrats now. The Republicans have just fallen off the radar in Hartford. And the one that said that, let's just say he's sort of like me, so he's kind of not in the sense that he's Irish. And the Democratic Party member that was here responded with something like, well, if you Green Party members ever actually ran a candidate or two and won an office or two, maybe people would take you seriously.
Oh, wow.
And the Irish Green Party member, his face started getting redder and redder and redder, and his voice got louder and louder and louder. And I'm over here and he's over there, and I'm like this, you know.
Calm down.
Could you take it down a notch, please?
Yeah.
And thankfully, he did calm down, and the discussion went on, but they almost came to blows right then and there. Or at least the Irish guy almost was ready to jump across the table.
Well, people thought that real estate guy versus the mortgage guy.
You think that'd be a natural, that they pretty much on the same key?
Well, no one expected that, but for weeks after, everybody thought it was a come-on. And I said, no, they were actually arguing with each other. I says, I almost needed to have a plastic bat to bat them over the head.
So a lot of people saw it and thought it was almost staged.
Yeah, it was a stage deal, and it wasn't staged. It was real. They were actually upset.
That's crazy.
So a significant discussion that then got into the news like a month after.
Hold that thought.
Oh, okay.
Because we're going to wind down now. We're down to about 30 seconds.
Okay.
We're going to come back and do a second show because we're having a lot of fun. We've got a minute to go, so we're going to...
Okay.
Let's start that thought, and then we'll come back.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Okay. There was one of the more significant shows was something I had on my show.
Yeah.
And then it came out in the news. It was almost like the show, but I think it was like, and I'm referring to former Attorney General Dick Blumenthal.
Yeah.
He came on the show and he talked about, you know, the monopoly that hospitals are sometimes can engage in monopolies.
Okay.
And the follow-up to that was a lawsuit against the Embry Hospital. That was years ago. This is over 10 years.
So this evolved out of
over 10 years.
This evolved out of comments by Dick Blumenthal.
First time it was talked about, probably 12 years ago, something like that. The first time it was seen any place was on this show, and then.
Okay, we are going to cut off there. We're going to come back and start that conversation over again. We're going to do a second show.
Okay.
For the miracle of television, we're going to actually sit right here in these chairs for a bit and then talk a little more. David Stevenson, Progressive Soup. Guest, John Bugliatino, Community Forum. Thank you very much. See you back here.